When you look back on your careers, there is likely someone you can remember during your college days who made a significant impact on your life and ultimately your career. Our next honoree is in the middle of a full circle moment, having worked for years in the business and now teaching himself and mentoring students and making a meaningful difference in their lives. Introducing Kent K is Karen Devine. Karen is another Silver Circle member, longtime news anchor and investigative reporter in Palm Springs at KESQ-TV, has career accolades herself, including Emmy Awards, Edward R. Murrow Honors, and a Golden Mike Award, as well as the Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce Athena Award. Please welcome her as she introduces Kent K.
Hello, we're from way in the back. Hi, Kent. It's so nice to hear all the stories today. This is kind of the funnest part because I recognize so many names. We're in Palm Springs, so we don't get San Diego. But, you know, I recognize some of you, and it's so nice to hear your stories and put the faces to your, careers and all of that. I'm grateful to NATAS, though, for choosing people behind the scenes, looking at their accomplishments too today, because it's a big deal to realize that it takes a village, right? All that said, I'm honored to be the one to brag about my friend and longtime colleague, Kent K. For more than 2 decades, Kent has been the creative heartbeat behind some of the most powerful storytelling in local television news. You might not know that because you can't see him, right? Maybe don't recognize his name, but he's been there. He's won plenty of prestigious awards, but you pull back that curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz, and there's so much more to Kent than those awards. I had the privilege of working alongside him for nearly 14 years. That included some late nights, some long shoots, some counseling for me, for him, and a whole lot of laughter. Kent was our creative services director at KESQ News Channel 3 in Palm Springs, the person who could take a simple news idea and turn it into something cinematic. We're so lucky to have him. For years, he wrote it, he shot it, he produced it, and he edited it. And every frame carried his signature heart, vision, and purpose. Together, we traveled throughout the Coachella Valley. He's covering me, watching what I'm doing, helping me out for promos and for my investigative pieces. We traveled to LA multiple times. My fondest memories include trips to cover Dancing with the Stars. I am not an entertainment reporter, but this is out of my, thing. But he was right there with these long drives, In-N-Out Burger, quick interviews, there every minute, getting the shots, making sure I looked okay, helping me identify who I'm interviewing, because I don't know who the hell these people are. Then, of course, off to Pink's for that famous hot dog and that long drive back to the desert. But Kent, you always made that so fun. We were so freaking tired, but it was good. And the product was always great. People love that stuff. And for every investigative story I covered, he was there quietly capturing the moments that made viewers stop, listen, and care. But behind the lens, he was more than a creative force. He was that calm voice in the chaos, the one who reminded me to breathe before going live, the friend standing behind me at speaking engagements, thousands of them, just to help ease my nerves. And Kent, you helped me have more confidence in those moments. You might not know that, but I was outside my comfort zone there too, and you really helped me with that. You are kind, compassionate, aware, and always of service. Kent's passion extends far beyond television. As an educator and mentor, he now devotes his time to helping the next generation of storytellers and find their voices. Through his teaching at College of the Desert, his leadership with NATAS, and his previous work with the Palm Springs Women in Film and Television, he continues to inspire and empower others every single day. He's lifted so many of us, colleagues, students, and friends, and tonight it's our turn to lift him. Please join me in celebrating Kent K, a true storyteller, a teacher, and a friend, the recipient of the Silver Circle Award. We have our Palm Springs table right here, too, so that's cool. Thank you, Karen. You're welcome. Good luck.
Well, I have had a lot of luck in my life. One of the luckiest things that I've been able to do is have a main evening anchor named Karen Devine. When I found out I was going to be moving to Palm Springs to be the creative services director at KESQ, I was like, Karen Devine? God, I've known her for what, 30 years? She didn't know me, but I have known about her because I've seen her stories. And when I'm like, yes, I will go to Palm Springs because that is going to be a cakewalk because Karen Devine is going to be in front of the camera. So thank you, Karen, very much. So yeah, I retired from television in May because I named it that because I wanted a party. And then I waited quietly in the background to see if a party would emerge. And like 3 days beforehand, somebody said, they want to have a party. So yeah, that's why I retired. But really, I've moved into a next chapter in my life. But I want to talk about how that all started for me and how I got to where I am here today with you. So when I think about how I want to begin this today, my instinct was to start with gratitude. But when I trace back that gratitude to its beginning, I find myself in a very dim overnight radio recording booth in Juneau, Alaska back in 1992. In order to have that job in that radio booth in 1992, I had to apply to the Federal Communications Commission for a license. And they issued me a license to be able to operate the radio station. And as you can see, it's not in that great a shape. But when I got it, I was so proud of it, I had it laminated. And if I hadn't had it laminated, it probably wouldn't exist anymore. But it looks like this because my very feral Chihuahua named Mindy decided it was going to be her license. So I found it under the bed. She was hoarding it there. My wife isn't here today because she's taking care of my feral Chihuahua who had to have a hysterectomy and a hernia surgery. And so she is making sure she stays medicated so she doesn't tear up other things while she is undergoing her recovery. So 1992, this radio station, this production booth, this is where I first learned how to make people see something with just sound. This tiny booth was my first classroom. My students were the listeners driving home or driving to work in the rain and the snow of Juneau, Alaska. They were picturing the stories that I built, one reel at a time, on an 8-track reel-to-reel machine where I had to use a razor blade to cut, take out the parts I didn't want, tape it back together, and select the tracks that I wanted to record on and hope to hell that I'd made the right edit because I didn't want to go back and do it over again. So yeah, reel to reel, that's where I learned that sound, not picture, is what truly carries emotion. It's what stays in your bones. It's what you remember. I can watch a TV program while I'm making breakfast and the TV's in a different room, but if I can hear what's happening and I kind of saw what the scene was, I know what's going on as long as I can hear it. And that's the same for all of you. The truth is that truth about sound followed me through every camera lens, every edit bay, every story that I've ever helped to tell over the past 33 years. If I hadn't had a friend named Ross DeBolt, who pulled me into that radio station soon after I graduated high school, or if I hadn't had a journalism teacher in high school named Clay Good, that gave me the responsibility of managing the school's stereo system, probably none of this would have ever happened, and I wouldn't be standing before you today. It's strange to realize how small moments The ones that you think are small detours in your life, things you just have to do, they become turning points for what the rest of your life will turn into. When that first job in radio disappeared because they bought a computer that could replace me, I made a desperate plea to my program director to keep me. And somehow he saw past the business part of it, and he saw a spark that was worth saving. He kept me, and I did whatever I could to keep him happy and do the things that the computer couldn't do. That moment taught me resilience, that sometimes your value isn't in what you know, but how much you show, how much you care. Fast forward to 1998, my wife, Rebecca, and I packed our entire lives into her tiny little Dodge Neon, and we drove out of Alaska with a few $1,000s and a dream. We thought San Jose, California would be our big adventure. That's where we were going to make our big stand and conquer the world. But within hours of arriving into the Bay Area, reality hit us like the desert sun in a car without air conditioning. It was 112 degrees, and two dreamers sweating it out, wondering what on earth they'd done. See, in Alaska in 1998, the internet did exist, but I didn't think that I could use it to research anything. So I had no idea how the cost of rent was going to be in the Bay Area. So as soon as we saw that, we realized we were way in over our heads. So we didn't really know what to do. But then Rebecca, the calm in every storm, said, "Let's just drive to Reno and go to a casino for a couple of days." Rebecca loves casinos. But that one sentence really did change our lives. It led us to a room at the Travel Lodge on the Reno Strip, then a cheap apartment outside of town, and then I saw a newspaper ad looking for a production assistant at a TV station. I didn't even know what a production assistant at a TV station was, but I applied, and suddenly I was showing up at KTVN, the CBS station in Reno, at 3:30 in the morning, tearing apart dot matrix scripts, sorting carbon copies, giving the pink copy to the female anchor, the blue copy to the male anchor, the yellow copy to the director, the white copy to the producer, making sure all the perforated things on the sides were ripped off, and making sure all the little bits on the top and bottom and all the pages were the right direction. I had big responsibility. But soon after that, they had me rolling teleprompter. I'm like, oh my God, I'm controlling what everybody's saying. I can make it go faster. I can make it slower, faster, slower, faster. Man, they hated that. One day, Wendy Winus was stomping up the stairs to the control room after the show was over, and she's like, "Who's running teleprompter?" I'm like, "I am." She's like, "You need to keep it right here at this top third part of the screen." She put a lipstick mark on the thing for me. I was like, "Oh, thank God. Now I know what I'm supposed to be doing." After that, I was so happy to start running studio camera after that, because I didn't want to be responsible for what she was saying. But this was my new booth. My new Alaska booth was this TV station in Reno, and it lasted for 10 months. A long time. I didn't want to be a part of the Bay Area chapter anyway. After a year, we moved to Las Vegas so I could study film at UNLV. And I started working at KTNV, ABC. Back then it was called News 13. The slogan was, "You're inside of Las Vegas." After a couple of years, they changed it to ABC 13 Action News, which I could get on. I really liked action, so we could get action. But that's where I met one of my most generous mentors in my career. I don't think many people, is anybody here from Las Vegas? No? One person has, okay, maybe. Las Vegas is part of our chapter, by the way. So if you ever know anybody from Las Vegas, you really should do some outreach, I think. But that's where I met one of my most generous mentors of my career. His name is Greg Rogers. He made sure that I could go to class even when I was supposed to be at the station producing. He saw my ambition, and he said to me, "Go learn. We'll still be here when you're done. So I worked all kinds of crazy shifts. I would go to work at 9 in the morning, and then I would go to school at 1 in the afternoon, and then I would do the night shift from like 4 to 11 because I was splitting my shifts so I could get 8 hours in school in between. Later, Jim Kuntz and Willie Garrett in the promotions department showed me how to tell stories that move people, that just doesn't inform them, it moves them emotionally. So I have to give a lot of credit to KTNV. Their general manager at the time, Jim Prather, because he didn't have to do this, but he ensured that KTNV paid half of my tuition every semester. I didn't know that he had to prove that. I thought Greg Rogers had everything, but obviously the general manager has to approve an expense like that. And I didn't think of anything of it, but I'm so gracious to them to making sure that I was able to not only work there, but finish school that opened up so many other things. When I graduated from UNLV, KHOU, CBS in Houston offered me a choice gig as director of photography for creative services. Now, at a TV station, that's really unusual to have a director of photography for creative services. Usually they have to do everything. But this job meant that all I did was shoot. I had a schedule of shoots. I would go shoot, 8 in the morning. By 11, I had to be here. By 1, I had to be here, maybe catch lunch along the way. By 3, I had to be here. And then I give all that footage to the producers, and they go make sure somebody edits it somewhere in the station. That taught me a lot about capturing images the way that can move people, because I was constantly shooting. And the rare thing about this job in local television is they gave me a crew. I had a gaffer, and I had an audio engineer, and I had a grip. And so now I'm directing these people, and I also have a grip truck. Man, money is awesome. That is the first and only job that I ever had where there was like a budget for production in local television. We produced commercials, I produced promos, we produced half-hour shows that we sold. You know, it was a crazy time for me, but that really built me into the person that I have become. After a while, I started editing, and I made a lot of mistakes doing that, but every one of those mistakes became a lesson for me. When I got to Houston, John Smith and Dale Lockett handed me a camera, a shot list, and a map, and they said, "Go tell the stories of Texas." Later, they hired a director of programming from Fox Sports named Don Graham. I'm talking to Don because the TV is right there, because I'm sure he's going to watch this later. Don raised the bar for me. He forced me to look much higher than I was looking, and he forced me to reach higher than I thought that I could reach. So I'm very, very grateful for Don and everything that he showed me about what I could do. He demanded excellence, and because of that, I became a better photographer, a sharper editor, and someone who could finally say, I know what excellence looks like, and I know how you can make that better than what you've done. Those lessons carried me to KESQ in Palm Springs. That's where Michael Stutz, does anybody here know Michael Stutz? Yeah, I knew some hands would raise because this is his stomping grounds. Michael Stutz took a chance on me as a first-time creative services director. It was a whirlwind. I got to be able to be the rare person that gets to build their department from scratch. I was literally building it. It really didn't exist before I got there. I designed the department and my production studio, and it was built like there was blueprints. Screws, steel, grinders, welding torches, spackle, paint. I was designing sets, branding newsrooms in multiple languages for multiple affiliates because we have 5 TV stations in Palm Springs that are in one building. And then I was also producing an incredible team of producers. And they were expected to make miracles happen daily. And then 13 years after that whirlwind, one name shines brightly. Crystal Harrell. She's standing over there. Crystal reminds me of the best parts of myself. She is determined, creative, unstoppable. No matter who tells her what's not possible, she goes out and does it anyway. Even if I tell her it's not possible, she went out and did it anyway. I see a lot of myself in Crystal. Watching Crystal grow from someone that I rejected the first 2 times she applied to work for me, I said, I don't think so. I think you need more training. But she kept applying every time the job came open. To see what she has blossomed into now has been one of the greatest joys of my career. Every time she takes a leap because I tell her, yeah, you should go do that, I'm reminded that leadership is about giving wings to people, not corporate ladders. For decades, my world was a cyclic grind of deadlines, special reports, commercials, promos, news openers. And then in 2015, I worked with Gustavo on this promo. Hi, Gustavo. And we won an Emmy Award. And then after that, I won 3 more, thanks to the skilled partnership I was able to build with a brilliant young woman who nominated for me for this honor, Angela Chen. There have been a couple of Emmys after that and countless other honors that have started flowing my direction. And then one day, I was at an event talking to some people about how to build a studio in a high school. And Dr. Mary Abril, who's all the way in the back, she said, you should apply to teach. And kind of like that line my wife said when she said, we should go to the casino. That single sentence changed everything again. So standing in front of my first College of the Desert class, trying to teach Photoshop, I probably sounded like a complete moron because I didn't know what a lesson plan was at that point. I had talked for an hour straight, much like I'm doing right now, and I was terrified that I was failing. But then I saw one student make eye contact with me in the second row. She's sitting over there right now. Her name's Allison Booth, and she's doing exactly what she did before. She's nodding and acknowledging me and doing the things that really a teacher that doesn't know what they're doing needs, acknowledging the information I'm presenting. And that moment really cracked something open in me. I realized at that moment that the next story I needed to tell was going to be through students. Laura Lee Jackson, who's also sitting back there. Hi, Laura Lee. She's our radio, TV, film, and journalism professor. She saw it too. She and Dr. Abril have championed me ever since. Sometimes they even play fight over who will get to give me classes in the next semester. That's kind of a good tug of war for me. I'm currently pursuing 2 more graduate degrees and a second master's and a PhD because in the future I plan to teach a lot of things, so I need a lot of degrees in order to do all the things that I want to do. But I will be teaching photography, digital design, film theory, storyboarding, studio production, post-production, leadership, any of those things. That's just the beginning. I want to inspire people. I want to inspire kids to be able to find their creative outlets. I'm really just trying to teach hope. I teach creative people that they matter. The smallest spark in a classroom can ignite a lifetime of storytelling, like it has for Allison and for Crystal, and so many others. Today, we're calling this award, this gorgeous award, I've never seen something as gorgeous as this. We're calling this the Silver Circle, a recognition of 25 years in television. But for me, this isn't the closing of a circle, it's the opportunity to walk through the opening that is in the middle. To the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, thank you for reminding us that after every long night, every missed dinner, every risk meant something. To my wife, Rebecca, you were the reason I could have taken every single one of those risks. So as I accept this Silver Circle honor, I don't see it as a capstone. I see it as a promise to keep teaching, keep mentoring, and keep telling stories that make people feel something. And just as I once tried to make them see something through that sound in the little radio booth in Alaska, Television Academy, thank you for seeing me today with this honor. And thank you for embracing me while I spend the rest of my life helping others find their voice. Thank you to my mentors, and most importantly, thank you to my students who teach me something new about my life every single day. Thank you, everybody.